Let's talk about our top stock for the day, and that's Persistent Systems. Of course, it's announced its earnings, and it does seem like we are looking at buying a return in this counter, at least in today, with a vengeance. It's up at 11% right now on the back of volumes. We have Rucha joining us to tell us why. Rucha.
So Persistent is the top stock for today, backed by its third quarter earnings. Well, let me talk to you about the numbers. Revenue was up about 6% at around 3,000 crore on a consolidated YOY basis, and margins were largely at 14.5, largely around 15% versus 14% last quarter. Talking about profits, well, up about 15%. Though the numbers seem to be really fine, not much of a surprise or positive surprise over here. What is working for the company is its commentary. So let us look at the conference call highlights. Well, the company did mention that there were furloughs, but they were largely in line with those of estimates. They mentioned that the sentiment is turning positive with respect to investment by the clients in some sectors, and this is particularly because of increased investment in the Europe. As we can see, yes, margins were largely in line, but positive commentary over there is what is working for the stock. There are three key strategies which the company pointed out very clearly. Number one, they aim to double down on the revenue from the top 100 customers, which currently contribute about 80% of the revenue. Number two is that they will subcategorize the three key verticals into 12 to 15 sub-segments so that they can focus on each one of them in their own particular way to support the growth and margin. Number three is that they will expand into alternate channels, including the private equity channel as well. And all of this will also be then aided by inorganic expansion. Remember that Persistent has been one of the top outperformers in CY24 within the Nifty IT pack, and this is what is working for them. And therefore, they are also confident about next year will be better than the last year. Like this year will be better than the last year, and this is based on the back of a better pricing, which not much companies have called out for, and this is also owing to its differentiated IP products. So products is the segment which makes Persistent stand out from the other IT software companies. Lastly, let's talk about what brokerages believe on Persistent system. Well, we'll talk about Nomura on Persistent. They have maintained a neutral rating over there with a target price of 6,200 rupees. They are largely, bullish on the kind of business or the growth which Persistent provides, but they are hesitant with respect to the kind of valuation that Persistent is currently trading at around 50 times at FY25 and FY26 PE ratio. Delivery on margins have also been a little bit of positive, but valuations is what is holding them back. As we currently can see, Persistent is largely down, a little bit down from the day's high, but still up about 11%. 70% returns is what they gave in last 1 year, but we'll definitely see whether this one is again an outperformer next year or not.
Okay, Rucha, thank you so much for joining us and taking us through all that's coming through and playing in favor of Persistent Systems. Of course, the other one that is also on our radar and has been all day today is Coforge. Coforge has also been doing quite well in today's day of trade, and again, a huge round of short covering seen here. Vineet, you want to come in on some of your relatively smaller IT names, perhaps point out some preferences here? Vineet, this question was for you on the mid-cap IT space.
So we like Persistent. It has been one of our top picks. Apart from that, we are not tracking too many players in the IT space currently.
Okay. Well, in that case, let's also take a look at how the stocks are done on the charts and what they look like. So let's pull up Persistent Systems in terms of perhaps a 1 month chart or maybe a 6 month chart. Actually, 6 months will be better because it'll give you an idea about how these stocks have corrected over the period of October, November, December, even most of January, and eventually you're starting to see a little bit of covering coming through. Of course, for Persistent Systems, it still is advancing by around 31% in the last 6 months. So it does seem like the volatile period of the third quarter hasn't really hit the company in any bad way. Let's also bring up Coforge. Okay, so that's where there you have it. That's the 1 month move on Coforge. So you're looking at recovery there as well. Before I move on, if I could take Kush's views on both these counters. Kush?
Agam feels a little bit, just a little bit like vindication, because every time we got asked about our top picks in this space, it used to be HCL, Persistent, Coforge, and FSL off late. Now Persistent, Coforge, both these stocks have been seeing a bit of a drop. It was more of a profit booking, as you rightly said. Despite the kind of drop that the stock has seen and the recovery today, it's still 31% up. For the year. So that's something that that's the strength that these stocks already perhaps witnessed. So I remain constructive on Persistent. I think if you've got a position, you should continue to hold. If not, the stock is still some distance away from its recent highs, so can be considered as an addition. On the upside, you're looking at 6550 as the first target, and then once that is taken out, of 6800 as well on Persistent. So we still continue to like some of these names.